Hey guys, welcome to Star Wars Timeline. My name is Ben, and these are my top 10 favorite Star Wars fan films. This list is based on criteria such as filming, action, storytelling, music, and of course the use of special effects. Guys, if you don't see your favorite fan film here, chances are I haven't seen it yet. There's tons of stuff out there on YouTube, I just haven't got to all of them yet. If you like, drop the link to your favorite short film in this video section below. I'll definitely check it out, I'll respond. If I really like it, I will include it in my future videos. And please remember guys, this is just my personal preference. The idea is just to talk about these awesome Star Wars fan films and expose them to as many new fans as possible. As always, I really appreciate all of your support guys. If you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing to this channel and supporting my future videos. Without further ado, let's jump right into it. Sitting at number 10, I have the 2004 short film called Darth Maul, The Contract of Evil. It's written and directed by Luke Lane, and it starred Rusty Loke, Andrew McCoy, and Luke Lane himself. Guys, the first time I encountered that movie was way before YouTube. I used to manage a local video game and comic book shop here in New York City in the Bronx area called Bulletproof Comics. And the way that it was introduced, there was these bootleggers that would swing by the comic book shops and sell DVDs of movies that were still playing in theaters. And here I found this one DVD that featured short films. And when I popped it into my DVD player, back then I was using PlayStation 2, that was the most popular DVD player out there, the short films that came on it were like Batman Dead End, which you could actually check it out on YouTube. It had a Wolverine short film, it had a Punisher short film, and it had the Thundercats trailer, which was basically reusing fake footage from Hollywood movies to splice into this Thundercats trailer. It featured Brad Pitt, and it also had Vin Diesel with his superimposed digital imagery on top of them. It really looked swell. It looked like Thundercats trailer. You guys also could check it out on YouTube. And of course, it came with Darth Maul, The Contract of Evil. Now remember, this movie was filmed in 2004. That's before we got Revenge of the Sith, before we even got the Star Wars The Clone Wars show. So for a lot of us fans, it was the introduction to live-action Zabraks outside of The Phantom Menace, right? Because it was the only time we saw Darth Maul and he was gone in the same movie. The stuff I want to mention about the short film that really captivated me back in the day and I still enjoy to this day are first and foremost cinematography. You could tell it was done by professionals. These wide-shot panoramic scenes that they have. I love the location they picked. Very dramatic, this rocky area next to the shore, and the ocean waves are, very, very dramatic there. And of course, it complements the kind of aliens they wanted to portray, being the Zabraks. We saw Darth Maul in the film, and we now see more of these species in the fan film. And a lot of us were just blown away by that stuff. I really enjoyed the music. It kind of fit that Star Wars theme, the prequels era, very well. The stuff that really blew my mind were the costumes and makeup. You could tell they hired some professional people involved with Hollywood who just went all out on this production of this short film. If I'm not mistaken, I could be totally wrong, but the rumors that were back in the day that the short film was actually made by one of the people who was directly involved with a Power Rangers television show. That's why you could see similarities in aesthetics, action, and especially choreography. I really enjoyed the cheesy acting. When you see all of these Zabrak guys deliver their lines, it's just the way the dialogues are written is cheesy. The way they're performing is very cheesy. And I think it was very, very deliberate because in order for them to not get copyright strikes or, lawsuits, they need to make it look almost like a satire or a spoof of Star Wars. Obviously, it was a fan film, and these guys didn't want to get into trouble. Maybe they had. I don't know. I don't know the full story behind this. What really sells the short is because you feature somebody like Darth Maul and that amazing scene that we saw in Phantom Menace, this short film needed to deliver. And boy, it does. Guys, if you haven't seen this short film before, I strongly advise you go see it. I'll definitely include the links to every single short film that I talk about in the section below, so you could go check it out. The choreography is just stunning, man. The different techniques they use, the decapitation is just savage. You see Darth Maul fully unleashed 100%. Can't recommend it more enough for action fans who are looking a lot of double-bladed lightsaber action. In terms of story, there's not too much going on there, but what's really cool was the lore and the world building, because they show this kind of a rivalry. They show this rite of passage. In the beginning, you see these 3 Zabraks, and 2 defeat the one because he didn't check out. He wasn't strong enough. It looks like the Brotherhood of the Zabraks would not include him. He's too weak, and they just needed to weed out all the weakest links. And here comes Darth Maul as the next challenger. And he says, hey, I'm going to prove myself. I'm going to defeat you guys. And it made you wonder back in the day, even though the delivery, the lines are really cheesy, in terms of plot points and what is happening, it really made you curious. Like, hey, what's going on here? I want part 2 and 3 and 4. Keep going with this. This is really awesome. Anyway, this is the movie that I highly recommend. It's sitting at number 10 for me, but honestly, I enjoyed as much as any other movies in this list. Anyway, that's it for the Darth Maul Contract of Evil. Let's keep it moving. Sitting at number 9, we have a very special project here. It's the 2016 Star Wars Generation. It's directed by Don Bitters III. It's also written by Don Bitters III, Jason Tobias, and Todd Blood. It's starring Jack E. Currington, Jensen Ramirez, and Jason Tobias. Guys, when I first saw it in 2016, it almost breaks your heart. It is absolutely amazing, fantastic film that puts you into your childhood. If you had experience of growing up with Star Wars when you were a kid, in my case, I saw it back in Russia in 1987 when I was a kid, and my dad brought them on VHS tapes, and we saw them with this Russian dubbing. When you see the starships flying for the first time and Darth Vader stepping onto the board of Tantive 4, the world was never the same again. You know, all of these amazing adventures and thrills and all of that associated with watching it by my father and my late older brother who is no longer with me, you know, the kind of feelings and emotions that a Star Wars fan project could elicit is absolutely staggering. The first thing that I really want to talk about is that this film sort of breaks the fourth wall. It lets you know that it's not really taking place in Star Wars universe, obviously. It's taking place here in our reality. It's an interaction between a grandpa and his young kid. And the way that grandpa loosely goes through the events of the original trilogy and tells his grandson, is like, oh, let me tell you about my adventures as a Jedi on Tatooine. He's dressed as a Jedi. He has a toy lightsaber. They have a little playhouse that they create in his house, and they're playing with his grandson. Then they open up the fridge, which I felt was so funny and cute. And you see little Luke hanging there and a bunch of Hoth battle happening in the background. And of course, at the end of it, the father has to step in and say, say goodbye to your grandpa. I got to take him home now, and we got to drive back. And as they're driving off, that little conversation exchange between the son and the father, we get an understanding that grandpa is perhaps terminally ill. Something is happening there, and he's trying to spend as much time as possible with his grandson. And they share in something that we all as Star Wars fans love, right? Great storytelling. It just touched me so deeply. And I gotta give it out for the directors. I gotta give it out for the script writers. But most of all, I gotta give it out for the Jack Currington. Guys, when I saw his acting there, I also contacted him on Facebook. He interacts with fans on the different Star Wars Facebook groups. And I got in touch with him once. I think he also actually might be on my Facebook group as well. That's how I talked to him. And then we got into private chatting. I would love to do an interview with him. He just gives off this tremendous performance. Obviously, you could tell he's a professional actor. How they got him into the short film, I don't know. Maybe they got some connections. Or perhaps these guys work in Hollywood themselves. It just warmed my heart. Once again, if you want something a little bit different that doesn't adhere to like a more serious toned Star Wars kind of like lore and storytelling within the world, and something different and experimental, this film is definitely for you. I know there's a couple of other fan films that are similar to that, where the parents play with their kids and the subject matter is obviously Star Wars. I'm forgetting them at the moment, but this is the one that I really wanted to highlight. Star Wars Generations, I think no fans should be without, especially the OGs, especially Star Wars fans who grew up from childhood watching Star Wars with their families. Highly recommended, guys. Go check it out. Let's keep it on moving. Number 8. This is a legendary project created by the biggest Star Wars YouTuber, Star Wars Theory. It came out in 2018 and is called Vader Episode 1, Shards of the Past. It's directed by Danny Ramirez, also written by Danny Ramirez, Star Wars Theory himself, and Nikolai Webb Olsen. It has a whole slew of actors there. Let me just read a couple of names. Dupree Jones, Stephen Bartlett, Catherine LaSalle, Mark Knight, Star Wars Theory. Obviously, he's portraying the wounded Anakin in the back of the tank. Andrew Branch, J.H.D. Gomez, Bradley Clay. First and foremost, before I discuss the short film, huge thank you to Star Wars Theory for throwing it all together, for complimenting George Lucas and showing his true devotion and love for Star Wars, and flocking all the Star Wars prequels fans around him and saying, this is the Star Wars that we love, this is the Star Wars that we cherish. I fully understand it. Now, my personal taste is, I was never huge on the kind of like story dynamics where Palpatine tries to leash Vader and constantly prove him that he's the superior. I get it. It's a story thread that a lot of fans enjoy. Again, I'm not trying to be a hater. I'm also celebrating the short film with you guys. I think it was a tremendous effort from Theory. Very well done. Obviously, this is why it's here on my list. I couldn't do this list without this film. It's very well done. What I personally enjoyed the most about it is the visuals. I loved the actor portraying Palpatine. Not as much as their dialogues, which are good written. Once again, I'm just saying it's not my personal cup of tea. I absolutely enjoyed Theory's portrayal as this broken Anakin. I don't know if he has any acting background. I'm completely ignorant here. I don't know. But the way that he channels Anakin, he's standing there. Obviously, we see his body almost like in a crucified position. He's in that back to tank, and all this stuff is like tubes are hanging from his body. It was so convincing, so well done. I just got to praise this film on the production values alone. Now, how well it was put together, it just makes me really hopeful for the Star Wars fan filmmaker community out there. Imagine what Star Wars fan films will look like in a couple of years. This stuff already looks like it belongs on Star Wars Disney Plus. Anyway, once again, huge thank you to Star Wars Theory. Huge thank you for all the Star Wars fans who helped him make this project a full success. And with over 25 million views on YouTube, I don't think it needs my introduction. I just felt it was definitely important to include it in my short list. Let's keep it moving to the next one. At number 7, we have a super fun project. Made in 2016, this one is called Han Solo: Smuggler's Trade. It's directed by Keith Allen, written by Jared Bell, Keith Allen, and Nathan Naurad. It's starring Jamie Costa, Duke Jones, Christine Girolaga, and Corey Daniel. Guys, this short film was amazing. Jamie Costa is Han Solo. Obviously, we see him in other Star Wars fan films. He also plays Indiana Jones. He also plays Kenobi 2019 short film. He is amazing in everything he does. I got to interact with him very briefly on YouTube before I started my channel. He's a very nice guy. But seeing him portray Han Solo was so amazing. He portrays him perfectly, from that sly smile to his own like voice intonations that he makes to the costume. One thing that blew me away were the locations. Whoever did film locating, locating for sites where to shoot this film, they did their homework. All those boulders and canyons and rocky places, the costumes on the actors and the extras, even within like this cantina where obviously see Dash Render is like, hey, old buddy, I'm trying to, solve a problem here. All of the stuff that went into making this film is top tier. I mean, it's indistinguishable from something like we saw in the Book of Boba Fett or The Mandalorian and this Han Solo fan-made film. And let's not forget, it is also made before we got Solo, the full feature film in theaters. This is a fan film. It looks fantastic. This was, to me, was a perfect sales pitch of saying, like, look, you don't need Han Solo to be portrayed by Harrison Ford necessarily. You would have a replacement actor who understands the role, who understands the character, and he's not trying to mimic Harrison Ford. He's trying to portray the character. And Jamie Costa is just amazing in this role. And as we see this short film, starts in the cantina. There's a fist fight going on there. There's a story to it as well. He's trying to rescue Chewie. And as he enters this canyon, he goes to this merchant or whoever this guy is, beautifully portrayed by this. I love the actor they pick. He looks so menacing and eerie. And you see Chewie there sitting in that cage and Han Solo trying to rescue him. It just gives you those pure vintage, the original trilogy vibes. Even the way that Chewie interacts with him and he hugs him at the end, I couldn't believe it, the amount of work and preparation that went into it, not only to make it look good to sell it as a highly produced, budgeted short film, but also make it feel native to the footage that we saw in the original trilogy. Once again, fantastic, brilliant work. I think the highlight of this particular short film were the locales. Everything works together. The script, the writing, the dialogues, the performances, the delivery, that chase scene there that he jumps on the swoop bike and he chases across the Dune Sea in Tatooine. Beautifully done against the blue screen or green screen stuff that they do there. It's obviously a fan film. It obviously doesn't look exactly the same you would have with modern technology, but still, huge credit to them. It looks convincing. It makes you believe that you've spent a few minutes watching the short on Tatooine. And once again, I got to give out credit to whoever filmed this film. The photography is just phenomenal. The way that they show you these different shots as Han Solo goes inside of that canyon were some of my favorite parts. Anyway, I really enjoyed it. I think you guys should check it out. For all of you who enjoyed Star Wars Solo fan film, let me know in the comment sections below, what did you think of this short film? How would you compare the two? And which one was your favorite? And we're going to keep it moving with the next one. At number 6, we have a fan film which should not even be called a fan film. Honestly, guys, this should belong on Disney+. It should be accessed by all the fans around the world. Everybody needs to see this movie. Once again, this one was made in 2018. Bucketheads, a Star Wars story. This one was directed and written by Marco Busso and Andy Brown, starring Troy Mundell, Lee Shorten, Mark Meir, and a lot more actors because there's a full cast in there. When I saw this in 2019, I was late to the party. I probably have seen it a month after it has come out, and some of my friends alerted me. It's like, have you seen the Bucketheads? And I asked my friends, do you mean like the really old one back in the day where it looks like cops? No, you gotta check out the modern one. So here I go, I jump on YouTube, and I watched this film, and I was honestly confused. I just couldn't figure out, like, hold on a second. Is this some kind of like promo footage done by Disney? What is this stuff? You can't call it a fan film, guys. The production values here, everything is so tight. The way that this film is filmed and the subject matter here, obviously is going to be a massive scale battle here, right? We have the Bucketheads, the Imperials versus the Rebels. So there were a couple of components that I were looking into personally that needed to sell it. Number 1, sound effects and military banter. When you're portraying a battle scene, especially with a lot of stormtroopers, they need to sound right. The way that they communicate through those helmets, the kind of things that they say to one another, the way they move through the forest. And honestly, the same is true for the rebels, right? You're portraying these military people in a full campaign war. They're fighting each other. It needs to look convincing. I couldn't believe it. It wasn't decent. It wasn't good. It was freaking amazing. Everything from the technology, from the different HUDs when they show the digitized effects, the different text that they use, like the physical props, like of their different binoculars or different gadgetry that they use. Mind-blowing stuff. I honestly, if I were Disney, I was like, let's go to YouTube, let's contact all of these dudes. They need to produce the next Star Wars show. That's how good it looks. When Cassian Andor, the show, comes out on Disney+, I will be honestly comparing it to Bucketheads. That's how freaking good it was. Anyway, I think I've said all that there is to say about this film. Beautiful location, tremendous convincing action. It's like the live action version of Star Wars Battlefront. It cannot possibly get better than this as far as Star Wars fan films are involved. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. From the beginning, when we see that shuttle crash land to the planet, to the battle scenes, to the emotional ending and exchange between the rebel and the stormtrooper at the end. Oh man, that was just like cherry on top. I was like, oh my God. So you guys know how to film. You guys know how to direct action. You know how to put some amazing sound effects on this stuff. And at the end, you could also have emotional story in here? Are you kidding me? Anyway, I want these dudes to do something for Star Wars Disney+. That's how much I love the short film. When I was making this list, I honestly rotated several things around. They all belong in number 1 spot. You can't have a list like that, but they all could take number 1 spot for me personally, and I wouldn't argue or quarrel about any one of them. The Bucketheads was just this good. Any fans of Star Wars action should definitely check it out. We're going to keep it moving with our list. Sitting at number 5, This short film represents to me some of the best Star Wars storytelling. You know those old school expanded universe Tales series, Tales from the Jabba's Palace, Tales from the Cantina. This is what this film feels like. This is 2019, Birth of a Monster. It's directed by Timothy Martin, writer Ian Exter, and Timothy Martin. It's starring Xander Martin, Daniel Bowman, and Linda Michaels. Guys, this was very, very brave move. What they have done was two rarely familiar characters that Star Wars casual fans would know about. I didn't even know their names. I had to look them up. They took the lady from the Jabba's Palace, Yar Nadal Garan, and they took the Rancor handler that we saw in The Return of the Jedi, the big gentleman who cries when we see the Rancor being defeated by Luke Skywalker called Malakili. And these two characters that populate Star Wars lore that casual, regular Star Wars fans didn't even know about and even think twice about. The short film takes them and expands their roles and makes a whole full story about them, how this Malakali handler taught to be with this Rancor and why he cries, how it contextualizes that scene from The Return of the Jedi. Brilliant, brilliant stuff. But it's one thing just to take a few known elements and make them expand on them. It's how you tell the story. Are you going to convince us that this is an interesting character and we feel and we root for this little boy? And do we believe what he's going to turn into later on in The Return of the Jedi? I gotta say yes. Whoever wrote and directed this piece are masters of storytelling. A lot of it is visual. A lot of it is obviously being propped by the beautiful and endearing droid who accompanies the kid, right? He goes to the lady and the lady says, "Is this the best that you could do, kid scavenger? Go get me better stuff." They're obviously playing into the Star Wars sequels. They're channeling a lot of Rey here, right? Just like what Rey was doing in The Force Awakens. She's scavenging. She's just trying to get by. Same with this little boy. He's even smaller than her. And automatically you root for this kid. And the way that they direct this young actor to portray his role, oh man, it was on the money. And as I'm watching this movie, obviously the story is not revealed until the very end. I'm having this deja vu familiarity. I mean, I grew up with the original trilogy as a kid in the 80s. And I'm looking at it, it's like, okay, it's obviously Tatooine, right? Oh, is that lady in the Jabba's Palace? I put the two and two together with the lady. I had no idea who this child is because they did it in a very clever manner. They go to his childhood, they show us the beginning, the roots, and only at the end you piece it together and say, aha, that's what he's going to become. Beautiful storytelling. The actor who portrays the droid, I would give him a fan film Oscar. Like, he's so convincing. He's so endearing. Once again, I think if Disney executives are there looking at this stuff, I think the smartest thing in the world to do would be to get them on board. And what if we see something on Disney Plus that is like Star Wars Visions, but live action version? A lot of people are calling the Book of Boba Fett more akin to anthology, really, than a one continuous show, right? Because we had different episodes featuring different prominent characters. And what if they fully capitalize on that idea and say, what if we have a show where you see an episode of Din Djarin, another episode with Black Chrysanthemum, Luke Skywalker, and here we're going to give you an episode of Malakili. That would be pretty awesome. I really, really enjoyed this film. I appreciate the amazing artistry that went into making it, especially the special effects, right? That's what I talked about in the list that I wanted to highlight. Look at that Rancor. Look at the droid. They look completely amazing. And you could tell that the people who made this are true Star Wars fans. They have complete passion for this. And they're also very talented filmmakers. Triple A, man. If once again, this easily is a film that I could rotate and put at number one, and I would not second that decision at all. Beautiful film. You guys should go check it out. We're going to keep it moving with the next movie in the list. At number 4, I have a fan film that I honestly could make a whole podcast about. You know what? It's actually a pretty good idea. What I'm going to do is I'll probably invite one of my regular guests, and we're going to talk about the short film because it's that amazing. 2016, Darth Maul Apprentice. Holy space Anakins. Remember the movie sitting at number 10 spot, Darth Maul, Contract of Evil? When that came out in 2004, I was blown away. I'm like, how much better can Star Wars fan films get? That's how better they can get. Darth Maul Apprentice. I think we all, as collective fans who enjoy and support Star Wars when it's at its best and when it's at its lowest, Star Wars sequels, we all wish they were a little bit better. I enjoyed watching them. I still wish they were much, much better. But if we were to compare, I want future Star Wars movies to be like this. One problem I have with all Star Wars sequel movies is the lack of signature memorable lightsaber duels. They're good, don't get me wrong. They're decent, but they're not that memorable. When you look at Darth Maul Apprentice, oh my God. Before we start talking about it, I gotta talk about the director, Sean Bu. Sean Bu also has written this film, and it's starring Ben Shama, Mathis Landwehr, Svenja Jung, Eskinder Tasfay, Maya Felicias Bergman, Paul Klaas, Sefa Demirbas, Derek Chewalowski, and Li Hua. Guys, if I pronounce your names wrong, I apologize. It's a long list. It's very exotic sounding names. But this movie completely blew me away. A, you giving me two things in one bundle. You're giving me a great story, and you're giving me great action. And a third thing that once again would make or break this entire film is how good is your lead actor? How good is the guy who is going to portray iconic Star Wars villain Darth Maul? If you are a film director and you're throwing it all together, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this film had $25,000 budget. I could be wrong, please don't quote me on this, but that's what I believe from the days when I was researching this film. When you look at it and you strategize with your budget, you got to figure out where the money is going to go into. Choreography, makeup, and the lead actor. On all three fronts, this short film succeeds. When you see Darth Maul step into the frame, he looks amazing. He moves amazing, he sounds right, and his little exchange with the Emperor on his assignment, what he's supposed to do, is very, very clear. Now, there's a whole different component to this film. In order to highlight Darth Maul and make him this total badass, you need to have his opponents, the good guys, the Jedi, also be equally as interesting. And that's what they accomplished here. All of the Jedi at play here, they really, really show how villainous he is. There is no mercy in this guy. At the end, you see the girl, the Padawan, she's struggling, she's alone, she's trying to survive. She also has this faith in the Force, and he's just there without mercy. This entire film is that like corridor little scene where Qui-Gon Jinn and Darth Maul are trapped by those laser beam shield generator doors, and Darth Maul is just strolling like a trapped animal. He's looking at Qui-Gon Jinn like, oh my God, something crazy is going to happen here. He's just going to unleash the dark side. This entire short film feels like that. The location they picked, once again, I loved how it changes between the forest areas and goes into this barren land. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but it also, once again, shows me this contrast between the Jedi who believe in life and vitality, obviously reinforced by forest and vegetation, and then you go into this barren space where Darth Maul is, where they annihilate all life. That's what the Sith stand for. They're ruthless. Tremendous film, just amazing. I gotta give it out for the guys, for a choreography, for the lead actor, being able to step in the shoes and have that vitality and energy in terms of acting, but also delivering the good with his martial arts. This is top tier Star Wars filmmaking at its best. I would say this is top tier Star Wars filmmaking in general. Whoever is making future Star Wars sequel trilogy of films, look at this stuff. This is what we fans want. This is what we're going to pay the tickets to go and watch your movies in theaters, guys. This was completely amazing. Let's start trickling down to the top 3 favorite fan films of mine. Let's get into it, guys. Okay, guys, we're getting pretty close to the top of our list. At number 3, we have the 2016 film called Hoshino. It's directed by Steven Vitale, with writing by Eric Carrasco. And it's starring Anna Akana, Tim McKernan, and Eric Carrasco. When I'm reading those names out loud, I'm thinking to myself, they already sound like they belong in the Star Wars universe. Anyway, when this short film came out, guys, it completely blew my mind. I remember seeing the thumbnail on YouTube, and I was thinking to myself, is it going to be one of those short films where it's just 2 Jedi step into the frame, and all they just duke it out, and that's the end of it? This is a complete 180. This is a very rich, very story driven, very lore deep kind of short film. Exactly the kind of stuff that I go for. I really appreciate the filming and cinematography in here, especially considering the fact it's a fan film. I mean, this looks like it belongs on Disney Plus, guys. Like the amazing wide panoramic shots, the location, once again, that they picked. I live for this kind of stuff that puts you in the scene, that makes you believe that you're truly live in that fantastical world, and it doesn't look anything connected with reality as we know it. Of course, it is channeling Star Wars visions that we see on Disney Plus 100%. And this is actually made before that. Hoshino goes back, obviously, in the name, which already sounds Japanese, but the whole premise of this piece is to kind of go back, look at the rich cinematic roots of Star Wars and represent that, right? The Akira Kurosawa film styling from Japan. And this is what this short is doing here. I absolutely love the dialogues. I love how these actors are channeling their roles. Especially, I gotta give it out to Tim McKernan. I mean, they all did brilliantly, but especially Tim McKernan, he doesn't look like he's trying to be Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's not trying to be Luke Skywalker. He just carries weight as this unknown Jedi that you meet for the first time, and you just believe in his powers. You believe in the wisdom of his teachings and what he's trying to show this girl. To persevere, to have patience, what it means to be a Jedi. I think these are all the values that we all admired about the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic video games when they came out. It wasn't just lightsabers or spaceships flying around. What people fell in love with were the stories. And this is what Hoshino represents to me. It's harkening back to the Japanese roots, to the whole Dao or Bushido, the way of the samurai, right? What it means to be a Jedi. And you know what? At the very end of this film, when we are introduced to these super epic looking Sith Lords, I mean, oh my God, guys, if we had these kind of villains in the sequel trilogy who actually come out there and they don't just stand on parade for the trailers and look cool, but just jump into the action and give you this kind of darkness, it would have been really amazing. And I'm pretty sure some of the fans who saw this short film said, oh, come on, man, are you gonna cut it off here at the end? How about the fight? I think it was very, very deliberate. This short film is not about the fighting. The short film is about the Jedi discipline. And when this girl is standing at the end, ready to confront these two Sith Lords, because one of them in the background, push, he's just like hits the tree and he's done for. And she's standing in front of these two opponents. We know exactly what this story is. We can imagine what is happening after the credits roll. Anyway, guys, I can't recommend this short film enough. If you haven't seen it yet, just drop everything and go see it real quick. I would be waiting for your comments in the video section below. Let me know what you thought of it. Anyway, let's keep it moving. At number 2, 2016, Rebel Scum. If you have any illusions, guys, or questions if fan filmmaking is art, it is. And this movie is a testament to that. Directed by Timothy Van Nieuwen, writer Paul Van Nieuwen, obviously 2 siblings, starring Andrea Brown, Anastasia Moody, Hannah Stolik, and Samantha Roberts. Guys, when I saw this movie in 2016, I was speechless. I called my boy. I'm like, yo, William, you gotta watch this. I called my brother off work. Dude, drop everything you're doing. Please watch this movie right away. This film portrays everything I love about Star Wars. It's rousing action, tremendous artistry with special effects. I could not believe they could accomplish this with fan film budget. And guys, if you don't know, this is not blue screen or green screen. This is not filmed against like projected backgrounds. This is all filmed on site. I believe there's like a documentary of the making of this film. It's unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. Beautiful 2 actors. A just opposition between the Rebel and the Imperial, that there's like shades of gray, and one is not necessarily completely evil and the other is not necessarily completely good. In a way, both of them are just trying to get home. And how this Rebel outwits her, he puts the suit on, and at the end he like plays her, and boom, and he gets to escape. Wow, just very, very simple story here, but the way that it's executed, you can't help but beg for more. Now, the visual front, the special effects in this film is something, once again, that deserves a whole podcast. Look at those AT-AT walking. all of those, both of those mechanical titans walking against live actors, against a real life film drop, right? The real location. I'm looking at this stuff and I'm thinking, whoever is making this short film, they're so much obsessed with The Empire Strikes Back. They're so much obsessed with the old techniques, with the old methodology and the artistry of making these special effects. Obviously, the stop motion animation. Once again, if you guys are not familiar, you could watch a whole bunch of documentaries on Star Wars Blu-rays and on YouTube. But these guys went in and they completely faithfully recreated that whole art form. It is an art form. When you look, digital effects, special effects, which I believe they used for some of the smoke in the beginning of the film, they're also very effective and they're also very useful, and they are an art form. When I believe they work together with something that we look at and we recognize that this is a real place and these are the real people and these are real outfits. I remember one of the biggest problems I used to have with Star Wars prequels, when they showed all the clones, they would show you portrayed the human head and the rest is digital. And later on in Revenge of the Sith, they completely costumed and completely digitized actors. And when they moved, you could tell just by the animation alone, it wasn't convincing, it wasn't believable, and it really distracted me. The Battle of Geonosis and the Attack of the Clones, it really distracted me because you couldn't believe it. You had these robots on one hand, these droids, which are obvious CGI effects, but then why would you take actors and fully digitize them? Didn't you have enough budget to put people in real suits and throw them there on the Genosian real landscape? I think it would have been so much more effective and tremendous. And this film, Rebel Scum, is a testament to that. It's a modern film made in 2016 where they take traditional special effects and they're telling you it's not just callback to the past. It's not just nostalgia. It just looks freaking good. I really, really love this film. I really debated hard. I spent half of the day retossing my list and like, oh, should I put it in number one? Like, oh my God, I just love it so much. But I have something special for the number one movie, and I'm going to go to it next. But guys, if you haven't seen Rebel Scum, please do me a solid. Go watch it. I would love to hear your comments, especially if you're seeing it for the first time. All right, guys, here we go. The moment of truth. Thank you so much for watching my channel, for all of your support, guys. I really, really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this list, please consider subscribing. My all-time favorite Star Wars fan film is 2016 Kira. It's directed and written by Joe Sill, and it's starring Andra Nichita, Peter Aspersella, Daniela Flynn. This movie represents everything I love about Star Wars. I love my action, I love my special effects, lightsabers, Jedi, rich lore. I love other science fiction, Star Trek, Stargate SG-1, Ex Machina, Elysium, District 9, all of that beautiful stuff. I always go into fiction. The reason that I love storytelling is living with characters, understanding their motivations, feeling for them, and seeing conflicts and how these characters overcome conflicts and how they grow and mature throughout the story. Now, when I was studying animation at the School of Visual Arts, my professors used to tell me, if you're a skilled artist, a storyteller, you can tell your story in 6 seconds or in 6 hours. The difference is, let's say when you're writing a full book, between writing a short story, writing a full book, you have some leeway. You can mess up with your beats a little bit, you could slow down the pace, and kind of like recuperate and recover and get on with your storytelling. When you're doing a short story, in its economy, every word must strike true. And same is when comparing Star Wars full feature films with high production values, with immense amounts of budgets, versus fan films, which are obviously shorter, which are working with a lot of limitations, which I believe create an opportunity for artists to demonstrate their very best. And to me, of all the Star Wars fan films that I've seen across the years, this one is the very best of Star Wars. We see a plight of this young girl. She's escaping with her dad. Very tense moment right from the beginning. First, I just couldn't believe those, the dogfight, right? The spaceships flying around, these TIE fighters pursuing that X-Wing. I just couldn't believe it. For 2016, I'm looking at this stuff. This is film quality production values there. And the way that the ships are flying in space is so convincing, so believable that it's not a space battle. It's a battle that's taking place in atmosphere. And then we see this young girl. I completely gravitated to Andra Nichita and her performance. There's so much sweetness and innocence and heartbreak about her throughout the film. And you're trying to understand what she... And throughout the entire narration, not a single word is wasted. You understand exactly what is happening in this fan film. It's a father and son, and they're fleeing this place and trying to get over there, as they show to the pilot who ejects later on. And they're saying, we're trying to get there, please help us. And then you find out by the campfire, which to me also is very, very significant, important symbol. This is a symbol of storytelling in general, people sitting by the campfire and relating to one another and expressing their thoughts and feelings and what is happening. And there's so much drama and heartbreak in this young girl's performance because everything has been taken away from her. There's so much context in this short film without much dialogue. It's just simply unbelievable. You know that, she couldn't help her mom. There's this frustration that she obviously has this power that she can't use because there will be a witch hunt, right? This is the Jedi Purge. Emperor Palpatine and Vader are seeking out any Force sensitive. They're not putting them to the lightsaber. They're destroying them. You know exactly what she's trying to escape. And as these stormtroopers descend on her and the girl, the rebel pilot, tries to help out. By the way, guys, a little side note here. I really enjoyed something that felt to me like a gender swap. In the beginning of the film, for some reason, I thought that the pilot was a boy, like this young male, right? But when the ship lands, she takes off the harness. You find out it's a woman, it's a girl. I'm like, okay. And then the young girl runs up there. Oh, you're so cool. And you don't question for a second whether it's a boy and a girl. All you see is a skilled rebel fighter, a fierce fighter. And I really, really enjoyed that point. Anyway, back to the story. When we're back to the daytime and the stormtroopers are pursuing our characters, I'm thinking to myself, oh man, this is so really good so far. How are they going to bring up the climax of this episode? What's going to be the main centerpiece here? Is it going to be tons of action? Is she going to whip out some lightsaber? And the filmmakers go for completely opposite. They do something entirely different. They show you the entire Force Unleashed, so to speak. It's a girl who obviously can't control it yet. She's obviously not a Padawan. But when she does this, and all of these stormtroopers are flying in the air, and it's a scene that's not just like, oh, cool, man, look at the superpowers. It is so fun to... It's not a fun moment. It's a heartbreaking moment because this girl wants to crush them. She wants to kill them. She is misusing this power. It's almost like the X-Men young heroes who have these newly discovered powers, and if they don't use them with responsibility, this is what's going to cause. It's going to cause a lot of heartbreak and harm other people. Granted, the stormtroopers are not the good guys here, but she's not the villain. And when she's down there, she's like, this is what you have done. Oh man, just talking about it now gives me goosebumps. And she's there, she's really turmoiled. Her father tells her, don't do this. This is not you. This is what the Empire does. We're different. You're a good person. And as she's being calmed, I really love the fact how they punctuate the story here. And the rebel girl comes out. And she just savage goes out. She blasts all of them. Because that's who they are. That's what stormtroopers do. They ruin families. And this is your just dessert. Oh, man. On every front, this is what I gravitate towards the most. All the bells and whistles of cinema in terms of action or choreography or good cinematic effects or lightsabers or spaceships, that's all secondary to me. What matters the most is powerful story and characters that are convincing. It doesn't have to be reinventing the wheel. It doesn't have to be completely, entirely unique. You could tell the simplest story, the simplest premise. It's how you tell it. It's how you deliver it. To me, Kara, this film encompasses everything that I love about Star Wars. It shows me who the Jedi are. It shows me what the Force is all about. It shows me what the Rebels are fighting for. It encompasses everything I love about Star Wars. Anyway, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this list. I would love to hear what your number one short films are, and I'm really looking forward to your links. Some of the features that I have not seen yet. I've already made myself a list of a couple of 2021 short films which look really, really interesting. I made little side notes of those. I'm going to check them out next, make another top 10 list. But as things are right now, Cara is my all-time favorite Star Wars fan film. Anyway, guys, thanks a lot for watching. I hope you liked it. Please leave your comments in the comment section below. Like this video, subscribe if you like, and I'll see you next time.